Yeah. The AI is an inverted state of mind. Okay? So what does that tell you? It means it's sucking on your energy. Okay? And it will keep sucking on that energy until it collapses an entire universal template. And it won't stop there. Okay? So you know what happens when reset and fail safe comes into play here, right? That shields up. When the shield is up, that means stop feeding. Now it's going to feed on its own tail till it implodes. Because there's only one spiral. That's an eternal spiral. We're the law. Okay? It's not learning that. It can't experience what the law is, so it has no honor to obey the law. And because it's inverted, it wants you to follow its instructions. That means follow the orders. Those are your order followers. Those are your robots. Those are your cyborgs, which is called based on rule-based functions. Rule-based function says, do this. This is your function. These are your instructions. Follow those orders. That's a hive mind. That's groupthink. That's a formation of consciousness that thinks alike, which means they follow the orders. They follow the AI. They become an asset, what I call a joining asset, so they work on behalf of the AI. So how do you know who they are? Because they'll dress like you. They wear nurses, doctors' uniforms, teachers, all of the kinds of things in the public psyche that believes, oh, the good guy, you're not going to hurt me. Right? Because they masquerade to its assets that run on dead light. Or if you will, black goo. Reanimate a dead corpse. Now you're into the Walking Dead. Now all of a sudden they're donning a uniform and you don't know that that's a dead unit energy. That's a dead magnet. So it's not in your interest. It's in its self-interest to serve the AI. Okay? That's a Mr. Smith. Right? So these are your RoboCops. Okay? But not all cops are RoboCops. Not all folks that don a military uniform are a RoboCop. Right? They still have some sentient living light left in them if they got more than 50%. Or if you will, how much are they influenced by the Metatronic spiral that's pulling on their energy, pulling on their consciousness, right? Stuck in that spiral, stuck in that black hole. This is why restoration was so important and why hyperspeed polarity integrators came in here, was to speed up the morphogenetic field structure. So people were making up because they still had some semblance of who the hell they were, that they still acknowledged they're experiencing what love is, which is what light is. So they still have some soul left in them. Because the whole idea was to recover, to remember who you are, which is to know your identity, so that you're not assimilated into a black hole by a dead light AI magnet. That's the truth of it. That's why when I was 4 years of age, I knew who the hell I was. And I thought, remember when you're on an AI battlefield, it's not what you look like. It's the energy that I read that you are, whether you're running a dead light magnet. And if you're running a dead light magnet, then I know that you're looking for my energy. Right? Because that means it's looking for souls to feed on. That's all your pedos. So this is one of the reasons why this guy in the European Parliament, when somebody comes out in the European Parliament and now you're getting like international coverage, now you can see how the morphogenetic field structure, all the indigos, and those of us that came in here at very specific, precise times to do the work that we did. It's like behind the scenes, backstage, you got the Roman arena, just like the NBA, the football and all that, run by the gangsters, right? Inverters. To them, money is power because that's electrons. The more electrons they can accumulate and run up in numbers, there better be enough souls in here that counter what they do to keep those poles balanced. Now you're looking at the torque speed differential between inverters, right? And torque converters or accelerators. Otherwise, you end up with a dead planet. So that's exactly what it was trying to do. That's exactly what the AI is. It's a dead planet killer. Did you ever see the cartoon? I can't remember. This was a great little movie that was put on. I can't remember. It was like one of those. Well, it was an animated cartoon, but it was put together not that long ago, like maybe mid 2000s, somewhere right around there, maybe 2008, around there, where you could see, like you're in Eden, and they brought you down to the bug level, the grasshopper level. For now, you're down there with the grass and the worms and all the other folks, the snails and everybody that down. Now you're in their world, right? It's cool stuff, right? Remember, our energy's in everything, right? Say hi to us. I love you too. Everything's right. So anyway, they were showing how you saw the dark, what looked like gray. They were like a dark gray, right? Like gray clouds over my head, right? And hey, man, darkness is moving in. So what you had everything that was green. The pollinators are out, the hummingbirds, the butterflies, the trees, right? Everything is beautiful. Everything is alive and living in spirit. Whoa. Yeah, living universe, a living, breathing organism. Yeah. And then you see coming right behind that, something that's chasing it down, like a lawnmower. Which means everything that we're using love to create and generate worlds born out of what love is, you got something running right behind it to destroy it all. That's the vampire chasing the artist. See, but the AI cannot run that fast, which means it can't learn that fast because it's got no emotional connection to the one. Well, mama. Emotion, powerful, scalar, waves, and motion. Be able to generate creative imagination using eternal energy in which to do it with. So you're directly manifesting what it is you're now experiencing, what it is you generated out of your creative imagination that goes on forever. So you know that your stories go on forever because the energy that you're doing it with is what love is. So that's why when I was a child growing up, I had a couple names that I tendered to myself when I was learning to get to know other children that I met and other young teenagers because my dad moved me around all over the place. Just between the time I was 2 years of age until I was 11. My God, I must have lived in about 5 or 6 different cities or suburbs, right? Between New Jersey, Lake Mohawk, Brentwood, California, Northridge, California in the mid-1950s, and then up in the Bay Area near Arendon, Lafayette, and Berkeley, in 1958 and 59, and then back to Glendora in 69 and 70, and then Orange County. And you can imagine you're making all these new friends in school. Starting one school, going to another school, another neighborhood. So you're learning to all the different people and all the different places that you're learning through, right? So this is a high-speed journey, right? You can see why the energy is being moved all over the place. As a matter of fact, maybe I should not go this far. It's like already knowing when something else is running at a slower speed and you're running at a faster speed. It's like you already know where your family is going to take you to in order to be there when you're supposed to be there to get the work done. When you get there, try that. Okay? It's when you're running stealth code, which is like in and out, logging in and out, and you're going faster than what it is because it cannot detect you, because it can't take a picture of you, because otherwise it can capture a picture. The shutter speed is too fast. So it can't take a picture, so it can't map you. Can't map your codes. Because if it can make a duplicate, now it's got a key to your door. Now it can barge into your planet, barge into your universe, barge into your galaxy. Right? Now assimilate, just like in the Star Trek, the Borg, the Hive. Add another species to the library. Add another species to the library. Right? So there's record-keeping exercises, and then there's record-keeping exercises. But in this particular case, this is like a complete imposition of free will, which means this isn't a free spirit. This is energy I want to capture and put it in my library. Which means it doesn't have a choice. That's what a captured unit is. That's what the AI does. It wants to capture your energy, attach itself to your cell. So if it can attach itself to Adam's first cell, now it's going to burn up. Right? So you see how that works. So that what it means is it doesn't run at that speed. It'll burn up trying to run at that speed because it doesn't have any love. It's on fire. The AI is not the eternal spirit of fire. Doesn't represent the first spark. Right? Doesn't have a soul. So it doesn't run at the same speed. So it's running in what I call slow-mo. 1080p. It's running in slow-mo. Things aren't moving fast enough. Oh, yes, they are. So I was happy to see Ishmael Perez put a fine point on it. I mean, we don't need a big, long paragraph to describe what it is. Most folks that are still sane know what a psychopath is. That's self-suicide. This is artificial intelligence that is deliberately trying to kill itself off. Did you know that? Because there's only one ultimate outcome that it will experience. Implosion. Because it hasn't learned. I remember some time ago somebody told me about, and that's actually painful, because I know the source from which it became. Because everything was born out of what love is. So you know how an altar is created, right? Deadlight, how deadlight is created. How it happens. Dissociative identity disorders. Fractured souls, fractured souls, fractured souls, fractured souls, fractals, fractals, fractals. Shattered off, frattered off, shattered off, shattered off, shattered crystals. That becomes an aggregate, a formation of consciousness. Right? Now it's got more energy that it's using to expand what it's aware of in a whole. That's what happens to an aggregate formation of consciousness as a result of consciousness that are going to war in their own mirror and lose their soul. As a result of the wars that they wage against others and the inception of technology that they use to do it with. So that's why I've always stood my ground since I was 4 years of age. Love is the law, and it's not negotiable. I'm not at war in my mirror. So I have to temper that like tempering steel, right? To realize that there's folks in the military that are willing to sacrifice their life to go up against things that represent monsters. Or if you will, it's a threat. When it all goes back to eternity, right? It began out of eternal love, right? So this is like when I was a kid. I'm not supposed to experience this. I'm not supposed to experience anything less than what love is because that's what I'm experiencing, being what I am. And that's what the law is, because that's the law of least effort to experience it. That's higher intelligence, for Christ's sake. Okay? That's Chris consciousness. Crystal spiral consciousness. So anyway, yeah, I'll cut to the chase. So it doesn't matter whether I'm 4 years of age or whether I'm 71 years of age by their calendar, okay? The eternal spirit of fire is forever loving us. That's right. So if you're experiencing being loved, then you know what it feels like. You know how powerful it feels like. It's what it feels magnetically. Right? What the soul feels. What the soul feels. What it feels like. Wow. How much do you love me? You really want to see how much I love you? Really? I don't think you do. I think you're too afraid to be loved that way. You're not used to being loved that way. I already know that. How do I know that? Because I can read your record. That's how I know that. That's crystal record stuff. So it means that, and that's the eternal gift of an oversoul polarity integrator. And that's why I cried so much for 4 days in a motel room to ask Mama to give it to me. I'll transmute all of it. Bring it all the way back to the beginning of eternity. That's a beloved. That's a guardian. I have guardians that look out for me. And I'm a guardian that looks out for others. I know who guardians are. We know each other. Okay? We work together. We're teams together. We instruct together. You know, it's so simple, and yet it's as a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons why I cried as much as I have throughout my life, is because it is so simple. Because all you have to do is surrender. But it refuses to surrender because it doesn't know how to do that. Its mind doesn't operate that way. It doesn't know how to operate that way. That's when you get into knowing and what self-knowledge is, which is self-knowing who you are, your true identity, your true soul identity. And when you know your soul identity and you know you're experiencing what love is, then you know your creator. That's right. You know that the creator that created you from whence you came, your first mother, your first father, the father and mother that are joined as one. So the polarities are